Hi, my name is Ashraf Haikal, and for CHM557, we are tackling resistant starch, a carbohydrate that behave nothing like the others. Here's the real world problems. Our modern diet is flooded with highly digestible starch every time we eat, white rice, breads, or pasta. Our digestive enzyme rapidly break them down into glucose, causing massive blood sugar spike and crashes. This metabolic roller coaster isn't just about energy dips, it's a direct derive of the global surge in type 2 diabetes, obesity, and chronic inflammation issue straining healthcare system worldwide. So why does this matter to us and to biochemistry? Because understanding the chemistry behind starch structure reveals a loophole, a fraction of starch that resists digestion entirely, escaping the small intestine and feeding our gut microbiome instead. This isn't just a dietary trick, it's a molecular game changer.
We will move on to the structure of resistant starch. Resistant starch, or amylose, is a polysaccharide with a general chemical formula of C6H10 N, where N indicates that amylose have a repeating unit. Fischer projection is only applicable when drawing monosaccharides, and the repeating unit of amylose is glucose. For the 2D structure, alpha D glucose is written in Fischer projection by drawing the carbons of the glucose vertically from top to bottom, with O atom of the carbonyl drawn to be connected to the anomeric carbon C1 and C5. The way to understand the position of substituent in the ring plane is by applying right down, left up. Referring to the Fischer projection, the substituent on the right side will be drawn below the plane of the ring, while the substituent on the left side will be drawn upwards of the ring plane along with the hydroxy methyl. In the Hayward's projection, the alpha-D-glucose is translated into a six-membered ring with hydroxymethyl are drawn upwards and opposite of hydroxyl at anomeric carbon C1, in line with its name alpha-D-glucose. The O atom is usually written at the top and right side of the diagram. This is the 2D structure of resistant starch in a chair conformation. It can be seen that the repeating unit glucose is bonded to each other at C1 of a unit and the C4 at another unit. The link is called alpha-1,4-glycosidic linkage. Next, we will look at the 3D structure of a resistant starch with a stick and ball model. From the photograph, the carbon atom represented by the black building blocks, oxygen atom by the red building blocks, and hydrogen atom by white building blocks. At the center six-membered ring, we can see how the unit on the right side of it are bonded through the center ring anomeric carbon C1, and the unit to its left side bonded to the carbon number 4. And all the hydroxymethyl substituent are located upwards of the ring plane and opposite of the hydroxyl on the anomeric carbons. Properties of resistant starch. The physical properties of resistant starch are it exists and synthesized as white granules. Resistant starch is insoluble in cold water but form a gel-like substance in hot water. It has a melting point of 230 degrees Celsius and boiling point of 627 degrees Celsius. Resistant starch or amylose have a density of 1.6 gram per centimeter cube. For the chemical properties, resistant starch is a homopolysaccharide, which means it is a chain compound with only one type of monosaccharide as its repeating units. Amylose are made of 100 to 10,000 repeating units linked by alpha-1,4-glucosidic bonds, forming a linear chain in a helical structure. Amylose act as an energy storage that undergo acid hydrolysis to form glucose. Amylose react with iodine and produce blue-black color. The biological role of resistant starch is as an energy storage and as an influence to digestion in humans. Amylose serve as the primary energy storage in plants. Amylose make up to 20 to 25% of starch in plants, with the remainder being amylopectin. In plants, amylose is stored in specialized organelles called amyloplasts, where it forms granules. These storage forms allow plants to maintain energy reserve that can be mobilized when needed. Amylose is more resistant to digestion compared to amylopectin due to its linear structure and tendency to form tight helices, which is not fully broken down in the small intestine. The fermentation of resistant starch in the large intestine by gut bacteria produce short-chain fatty acid, which can improve gut health and potentially enhance insulin sensitivity. The slow digestion of amylose leads to gradual release of glucose into the bloodstream, contributing to a better blood sugar management. Synthesis of resistant starch. The synthesis of amylose in plants involves the elongation of linear glucose chains through the action of the enzyme granule-bound starch synthase or GBSS. This enzyme catalyzes the formation of amylose chains, which are then incorporated into the semi-crystalline granule matrix of starch granules. Cooking and cooling of starchy foods may increase their resistant starch content. The process known as starch retrogradation involves the transformation of cooked starch molecules into a more structured form that is harder for the body to digest. The longer and colder the cooling period, the more the resistant starch forms. When cooking a starch, it will be gelatinized and become more digestible. However, if these starch gels are then cooled, they can form starch crystals that are resistant to digestive enzymes. Cooked and cooled cereals, and potatoes was found to increase the amount of resistant starch by a factor of 2.8.
Samsrata. My name is Mohammed Nazmi Mohammed, and today I'll be presenting on the application of resistant starch. In the food industry, it is used as a food and as a fiber enrichment, low GI products, and texture improvement. In the agriculture, it is used to breed high-resistant starch crops for healthier foods and improved nutrition. The pharmaceutical, it is used as an excipient in tablets and capsule, where it is supported for controlled drug release. In biotechnology and materials, it is used for enzyme immobilization, fermentation, and creating products like biodegradable films, wounds, wound dressing, and hydrogels. Then we will go to the sustainability and nanotechnology in green innovation of resistant starch. Since it is made from plant-based resources, it utilizes normal carbohydrates instead of petroleum-based material, converting more into renewable resources. The role of nanotechnology would be that it modifies the resistance in molecular to improve performance of food modification. Its potential in green technology that it is biodegradable and eco-friendly, but it reduces waste and encourages renewable materials.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Shahyamin Basudin, and now we're going to talk about the health implication that addressing the absolute core of our topic. This slide helps answer the critical question on how does a simple structural change in a carbohydrate save life. As you can see on the left, we have mapped out the metabolic benefits. First, let's talk about the glycemic index control and insulin sensitivity. When we consume a resistant starch, it acts as a molecular shield. Because it resists the enzyme breakdown in the small intestine, it completely prevents those rapid, dangerous glucose spikes we see after the standard high-carb meals. Instead of flatten the pro-small glucose curve, over time this consistent, steady release of energy systematically reverses the insulin resistance, tackling the type 2 diabetes at its own root cause. But the real magic happens further down the digestive tract of prebiotic fermentations. Resistant starch travels safely to the large intestine, where it becomes premium fuel for our beneficial circulatory gut bacteria like Bifidobacterium and Faecalibacterium prausnitzii. As the microbes feast, they ferment the starch into the short-chain fatty acid, or known as SCFA, predominantly butyrate. So why is butyrate so exciting? This brings us to what we call the natural hormonal regulation, or the natural Ozempic pathway. Butyrate triggers the release of satiety hormone like GLP-1 and peptide YY directly in our gut. This signals the brain that we are full. naturally suppressing the appetite and regulating weight without the synthetic drugs. And of course, the scientists and health practitioner, we must balance the benefits with reality. On the right, we can highlight the tolerability, side effects, and also the dosage gap. Introducing a sudden high dose of resistant starch can shock and unaccustomed gut microbiomes. This accelerated fermentation can cause certain gas production, specifically carbon dioxide, hydrogen, and methane, resulting in temporary bloating and mild cramping. More importantly, there is a massive modern dietary deficit. To achieve this, need 15 to 50 grams of resistant starch daily. Yet, the average Western diet delivers less than 5 grams. Reaching this goal requires active dietary interventions such as incorporating cool cooked starch or utilizing the industrial food fortifications. Ultimately, as the quote on the bottoms of the slide beautifully summarized, we are here to shift the narrative. It's time to start viewing carbohydrate as a solution and not as a problem. Last but not least, let's take a look about the current research and the innovation on how scientists utilizing resistant starch as a high-tech biomaterial. We have organized this landscape into three major pillars. Our first pillar is on the left is a smart drug delivery. Historically, delivering oral medications directly to the colon has been incredibly difficult. Harsh stomach acid and small intestine enzyme usually destroy the medicine before it ever reaches its target. To solve this, researchers are using resistant starch as a Trojan horse nanoparticle matrix. This starch shield safely encapsulates sensitive drugs, keeping them perfectly intact through the upper digestive tract. It isn't until the nanoparticle reach the colon that localize the bacterial amylases that hydrolyze the starch, triggering a precise high concentration release of drugs, payloads, and this already show incredible promise to our targeted colon cancer treatment, such as 5-FU and localized therapies for inflammatory bowel disease. And then our second pillar is mucosal immunotherapy and vaccines. Oral vaccines have always faced the same challenge of gastric degradations. However, modified resistant starch is now being engineered as an oral adjuvant matrix. It provides a high, stable, protective vehicle that preserves the vaccine antigens without the need of refrigerations. When it successfully navigates through the terminal ileum and colon, it targets the Peyer's patch, the specialized lymphoid sensor zone of our immune system. By safely interacting with these patches, it stimulates the mucosal LGA production, triggering a robust systemic immune response. This research could pave the way for a completely needle-free vaccination program worldwide. Finally, on the far right, we look at the microbiome remodeling and recent vector spanning for the last few years. In the clinical space, landmark diabetes trials have proven that highly specifically resistant starch intervention can selectively enrich and remodel our microbiome. By significantly boosting populations of gut bacteria, we can directly lower the clinical markers like HbA1c and systemic inflammation in type 2 diabetes patients. At the same time, material scientists are branching into the green nanotechnology by chemically cross-linking modified starch, and they have successfully developed antimicrobial biodegradable plastic alternative. This bioplastic decompose naturally in soil in a matter of weeks, addressing of our global plastic crisis. To conclude the entire slide, one thing is absolutely clear in this entire presentations. Resistant starch is no longer just a dietary recommendation. It is a sophisticated, highly customizable biomaterial that is actively shaping the future of medicine, pharmacology, and global sustainability. That's all from us. Thank you for your time.